From deep in the Burbank Media District, it's time for another edition of My Burbank Talks. This podcast is presented by the staff of My Burbank. Now, let's see what's on today's agenda as we join our program.
Hello, everybody. Craig Sherwood here with you, along with, of course, Ross Benson.
Do I need to, it's time to get my okay, my teeth are in, my glasses are on. Wait, is this the week that next week?
That's what this is.
Oh, then I wore the headband. We do so many podcasts now.
That's because you're running around so much.
Well, today was busy, but I wasn't sure if today was the batting thing on TV. Oh, what was that called?
The Home Run Derby.
Oh, the Home Run Derby, or
Go Mookie.
We got Ashley in the studio. I wasn't sure if it was Ashley's show, but I figured I had to dress the part.
Absolutely. Well, bring that up. We also have Ashley Erikson with us from her shows she does.
Mm-hmm. Women of Burbank. I don't have a cool intro sound yet, but I will get one day.
Well, right now you get the. There you go. That's what
I'm
we have
bringing
for
in
you.
the bacon.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Wait a minute, we had a pig. Be careful. We'll put a pig there.
Well, this time we're going live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So hopefully you are joining us. If not, we'll have this recorded on YouTube in the future. So let's get into another week of the week that was and the week that will be.
Is that like this week or last week?
Well, we're going to start with last week first.
I can't remember that far.
Instead of first week last, we'll talk about last week first. So basically what we have is we had a Tuesday, we had our July 4th. We had the 4th of July up there at the Starlight Bowl, fireworks at the bowl. No problems at the Starlight Bowl. A sold-out event like usual. No problems up there.
Sold out?
Sold out.
Oh.
But what we did have is a lot of private shows going around in Burbank.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were shooting everything out. In fact, it's been going on for days. And I know we got a Twitter comment the other day, I think it was Sunday, that said, people have to realize, 4th of July is over and you keep shooting things off. And the animals are they're bothered. The animals don't want to deal with this stuff. They want to, it bothers them. And like you also said the other day, so do the veterans.
Veterans with PTSD, those cannons going off, it does affect them. And July 4th went off without a hitch. I shot up at the bowl. We had a picture on the front page of myBurbank. The fire department used it.
It was a beautiful photo.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely beautiful.
I put a little history behind it. To shoot that shot,
Mm-hmm.
I did a cover of Peterson Photography 40 years ago, and as a photographer, I set my tripod up. I had it all planned out. I had a flashlight in my left hand to paint the picture. It was a time exposure, so my hand was holding the exposure open, the painting, and I waited for another blast to go off. I got about 10 good shots. And then the best part was I got out of the bowl before they opened up for all the audience to leave.
Yeah.
I, in fact, was home when I heard them say, you can open the bowl. And I thought,
I wonder how many people actually realize they don't let people leave until they've actually done a sweep of the entire area to make sure there's no hot spots, no fires.
Apparently there were two. I talked to somebody that did go to the show, and they kept them there, and there were two cannons that blew up after the show. Apparently they had live, rounds in it. But L.A. City, in that picture, I think I kind of explained it, there's an agreement between Burbank and L.A. City, mutual aid agreement. And they give us a couple of helicopters for fire standby. Mm-hmm. They're tanked up, ready to go. And we answer calls in the Equestrian Center and Cabrini's in trade.
Okay.
And the pilots and their crew love landing up there. They're all ready. In fact, this year they had to fly off just after the show. I was taking a picture, and the pilot said, "We got to go." Wow. And I moved quickly, and they took off. But there were no problems. And, I know we kind of wonder, everybody's complaining about fireworks. It's a great visual for across the city. But you're right. They're up there. We counted 50, 75 different shows going on besides Universal and Lakeside and
the real places.
I
spent the time out in the backyard watching the Lakeside show, which every year it's a beautiful free show, and we appreciate it.
Well, our voice on my Burbank, or on my Burbank Talks, Craig Durling, lives kind of by Lakeside. He said he doesn't have to join the country club for the, he got a front row seat.
Yeah.
Went up on his roof. He not only, he saw the Toluca Lake show, and so.
Well, Burbank High has become the hot spot for the Starlight Bowl. That's where we go every year. And the families fill the football field, and they lay blankets, and the kids are running around the track, and everyone sits down, watches the fireworks. As soon as it ends, they shut the lights down, and everyone's home and done. It's nice.
Now, see, what gets me on something like that, I don't understand. Technology is pretty simple these days. Why don't they put the music that they're playing up in the bowl so you could stream it or you could listen to it,
I believe Burbank has a radio station.
Well, they do.
That they never use.
Well, they use it for emergency.
But why not put that on that station? I mean, there's a station they can use right there.
Probably some legal. That's called BAM, Burbank AM Radio, and it's for if you go ever. How many times, Ashley, did you know that Burbank has their own radio station, Craig?
Well, I knew it, of course. I just brought it up. But the problem is this. I couldn't tell you what the frequency is.
Right.
You're right. And it's on your power bill. Oh, that's right. You don't get a power bill.
Well, I get. Oh, no. I get a power bill. Trust me. Somebody's got to pay that thing every month.
But the purpose of that is in case of a disaster, people listen to it. They'll give you instructions and so forth. But you're right. For that 20-minute show, and that show costs the city several $1,000s, which they make, at the bowl and other.
The admittance, yeah.
But I kind of wonder, they've canceled so many shows, Redondo Beach, Huntington Beach, because of the environmental problems they're saying with the fireworks. That's plastic, the smoke, the next day, all that. Are they going to go to a drone show one day?
Oh, wow.
You know.
Well, drone shows are nice. Well, let's move on to Wednesday.
Oh, that's right. We have more to go.
While there was no fires on the 4th of July, there were actually 2 fires on Wednesday.
Where were they?
Well, one was at Bouvardia, the restaurant over in Glenoaks, 100 block of Glenoaks, and the other one was at Las Casitas Assisted Living, that was on Hollywood Way, just between Burbank and Victory. And they happened about 45 minutes apart. The fire over on Glenoaks, they had flames visible, smoke visible leaving the station, and flames, and you got out there to shoot it. In fact, what was going on is they had Glendale, who would usually come and assist us, was on a brush fire with Pasadena units near the 2 Freeway Mountain. So there were really no Glendale units available to come, and so they actually sent an LA City task force from Station 60, which is at, I want to say...
Tahunga and Chandler.
Tahunga and Chandler, which actually responded to the fire to assist us. And during that time, the Glendale fire wrapped up, and they had a second fire about 45 minutes later, and they actually had sent some of the Pasadena and Glendale units to cover Burbank stations, and they actually responded to that fire also to help. So at no time was Burbank not covered for the fires, but you went to both of them covered. So what'd you find out? Ross?
It's kind of nice to know that these mutual aid work seamlessly. I think that's the word. The firemen through Verdugo, the mutual aid, the Burbank fire up on Glenoaks was a 2-alarm. They called, the chief got on scene, asked for 2 more engine, another truck, and then he upgraded, what they call upgrade. When they got on scene, I haven't been down that back alley in years. I didn't know that restaurant had an outside patio.
No.
And that's what basically caught. Now,
we had a fire, Memorial Day, wasn't it, about 6-7 years ago? That was right in that area?
Oh, is that the Beauty Kiss fire across the street?
Yeah.
Yeah, all the fire chiefs that we were talking, a couple of them got taken to the St. Joe's after that fire.
Wow.
That was another 2 or 3 alarm fire. That block is kind of known. But that restaurant, I did not know until I went online afterwards. They have an outside patio. They serve inside. But that patio is covered, and they had shrubbery and so forth. I don't know what the investigators finally found, but where it burnt, it caused the city power line to go down. There you got a hazard for firefighters who were putting water on a fire. You got a electrical line that is charged. So they had some challenges there. One of the firemen got sick there, minor injuries. It was pretty warm that day.
Yeah, they actually, I heard a unit say, hey, have you seen got any calls for smoke in the area of Olive and Glenoaks? They go, well, we're putting it out now. So the fire department actually saw the smoke first. Now the fire over on Hollywood Way, it got dispatched as a possible propane tank fire with one engine responding. And all of a sudden, once again, from their station, they said, "Hey, we've got smoke out here. Make this a full assignment. Let's rock here." So they, immediately escalated it. And I'm not sure what the cause of that was, but at first they thought the building was on fire. And I guess it was a propane tank.
Well, on that one, when you're responding into a fire, you see what they call a loom up, or on this new county show, a boomer. A boomer.
We've got a boomer.
You see a column of smoke, the fire responding in, they don't know what they have. They get on scene, and you have a retirement facility. You have people in wheelchairs, people in walkers, and you have to think always life before property. So they got all these old folks that are getting taken out the front. Firemen are trying to rush in to put a fire out. Well, it turned out to be in the back alley. It was their trash container caught fire, and that's where they store their propane tanks for their heaters. Apparently, they sometimes do events, and they thought the propane tanks out there caught fire. But it looked like it started in the trash can. It got a little into the faceboard or the eave, and again, Pasadena was on scene, Glendale.
It's been a really busy 2 weeks for them.
Oh, they have, and they're prepared.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys.
And the great thing was, how many of those rookies who just graduated got their first fires?
Yeah.
Well, in both of my pictures, you're right. The firemen fire up on Glenoaks, that's their first big fire. And then the one.
And what's their tradition when they get their first picture on the news media or their first fire? What's the tradition for the rookies?
Well, that's an old tradition. Firemen, it's called ice cream. That rookie owes everybody in the firehouse ice cream. And I made sure I got some new firemen. So I don't know. In fact, I talked to Deputy Chief Hatch, and he said, we haven't had rookies in so long. We need to reestablish that tradition. That's an old firehouse tradition called ice cream.
That's fun. Sliders should come up with a rookie ice cream specifically for them. That would be fun.
I think that's a
great idea.
Yeah.
I think we should talk to.
Yeah. Hey, Sliders, are you listening?
Yeah.
We have a proposition for you.
There you go.
If they don't want to do it, I'm sure Ben and Jerry's will jump on that one.
Well, and so that was those two, and then that night, like you said, Ashley, the fire department's been busy.
Yeah.
They had a call again the night before up in Brand Park. Glendale had a brush fire started. They found evidence of fireworks way up above the Brand Library.
Wow.
At 2-3 in the morning. So,
Now, on Wednesday night, there was also a report of a brush fire above the DeBell Country Club.
Interesting.
And around midnight or so. And so they responded to full assignment. And they got up there, and they had a helicopter respond also, and they really couldn't find anything. They did find some brush near the police firing range that they had put out on something. But here's one of my big beefs that I'll put out. Now, of course, at the end of the show, Ross comes up with his gripes.
Pet peeve of the week.
Pet peeve of the week. But one of my pet peeves, and I'll say it right now, is it's called passerby syndrome. When people see something, they call it in, and then they keep driving, and not sure really what they saw. And all of a sudden, the fire department will respond, or the police department responds out there, and they go, "Well, we can't find," and they're looking hard because they think there's a real. And they call dispatch and say, "Well, who called us in?" And they go, "Oh, it's a passerby. No, they're no longer there anymore." Well, you know what? If you're going to call something, if it's that important, you're going to call emergency services in, then why don't you stand by for 5 minutes and wait for somebody to show up and say, "Here's what I saw, here's where I saw it," so they can go investigate it then, instead of driving around trying to figure out what is going on.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why people will take it's like the people who comment on Twitter without reading a story. They don't read our story, and they'll comment on something. I'll say, "That's in the story." Oh,
Yeah.
okay, why did you bother to read that?
Everybody has a cell phone these days, and they see something, they call it in. They don't even, their number shows up usually, but when the fire department calls them back, they don't answer, so forth. They don't realize on a brush fire, you're not getting a couple of firemen out of bed that calls for, a brush fire calls for a slew of fire equipment.
Yeah, and when they say it's, it's on a hill above DeBell Golf Club. Well, guess what? That's a pretty big hill.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. You know, it's got a lot of area to cover there. And at nighttime, you know, they don't know if they have the right angle to see it. You know,
Right.
it'd be in a canyon where they can't see it, but somebody else could have. But they're just passing by.
Well, if I recall right, I heard Fireground Conversation. The police range has some really bright lights that you could see up on the hill. And in fact, that's why they wanted to get with that informant was, did you see the lights reflecting on the hill, or do you have a fire? And the fire department aren't mind readers, but I do remember hearing them say, we wondering if it could be some light reflection from the range.
Yeah.
Plus, those radio towers have lights that are at night. And where I live up in the hill, the clouds will move in below the light. You'll see the lights and you go, is there a fire up there? No, it's actually radio towers.
They glow up there, so it looks kind of like the flames.
So let's move on to Thursday because we have more
Yes, we do.
activities.
Thursday we had a they call it 211, which is an armed robbery at Ralph's over on Victory and Buena Vista, and the person, I guess, put a bunch of Tide into a shopping cart, and when they left the store, they shoved a manager, and then they went out. So once you shove a manager, that becomes an armed robbery. Now it's by force. Use force.
You have to use
You don't have
force.
to have a gun or a knife or
Okay.
something else. If you use force, it becomes an armed robbery. So now Burbank's out there, field emergencies. They've got units everywhere, and they talk to Ralph. Say, what do you want to do? And the Ralph comes back and says, oh, you know what? We don't want to press charges. We just want our Tide back. And so now they've called Burbank police. And once again, another one of my pet peeves. I know you got yours later, but mine are now.
You didn't
Don't-
have one when we talked about
But don't call the police department and want them to take. You want them to, just to get your Tide back, just to get your merchandise back.
But that call happened to go on because he used force. They did recover the Tide. Now people are going, people don't realize they're stealing these packages of Tide pods that are $25 a container. He had 10 or 12 of them. We're now talking.
Yeah, it was about $500 worth. They said.
Okay.
But the point is, though, then prosecute them.
Well,
then
this one
arrest
they
him.
did. They took, because he fled on them. They called in. Burbank used their drone on this call, and they, in the 1400 block of Buena Vista, the PD called some of those residents. One resident said, "We don't want the PD in our backyard." And that's where they last saw the suspect running. So they used their drone, put it up, and the drone pushed the guy out, and then the guy got into a fight with officers, and I believe he had to be tased.
Wow.
And that changed the crime to so forth. So they did prosecute him under felony and transport him to the hospital.
Well, just
and then jail.
this past year, I've noticed at Target they lock up all of the detergent, and you have to get somebody to come out. You have to push a button. Somebody comes out, unlocks the detergent glass case, and gives you the detergent. I thought that was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. Obviously, this is why. I'm guessing Ralph's does not have theirs locked up.
Well, it used to be, diapers. It used to be cold medicine.
Formulas, it was
Things
locked
like
I
that.
don't
up. Yeah.
think now cold medicine you have to get pay for
Yeah.
it. I always remember I worked at Save on Drugs Drugstore. Now it's CVS, and whenever you would leave the pharmacy, they didn't have a register back there. You'd have to go up front, and there was an employee by the name of Pat Winky, and when somebody went up with a package that they hadn't paid for before, or the pharmacist thought, this person's not going to pay for it, and walk out the door, they used to come on the intercom system and say, Pat Walker to the pharmacy.
Pat Walker or Pat Winky?
No, Pat Winky was the manager.
Oh, okay.
But they got the name Pat Walker, come to the pharmacy. That would let the management know, look who's at the pharmacy, who should be making it from the pharmacy to the registers. But people don't, it gets me. I talked to an officer the other day. They're saying Burbank should put a police officer, a substation at the Empire Center, because every single day They have thefts at Target, the makeup store there, or Walmart.
Oh yeah, we're hearing at Rite Aid, CVS, all those. A lot of times they're going there and stealing makeup.
Yeah.
They're stealing that makeup. I mean,
It's not a we were harassed at Krispy Kreme, me and my kids, a couple of weeks ago from a homeless person, and it was really scary. And I don't feel, I try to avoid that area now. It doesn't feel safe anymore.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. And like this officer said, the number of calls now, Burbank police, if there's they ask for the car, description of the car, one officer will go to the Buena Vista on-ramp, the other will go to the Burbank Boulevard on-ramp, and they just wait for him.
Right.
Because they're either, if they get on the freeway, going southbound, they're heading to South Central or down that way. If they're going northbound, they're going to Palmdale. And the officers have finally learned that. So cut them off before they get on the freeway. They have a description of the car. They have the description of the suspects. They're making their stops and recovering. So don't do your crime in Burbank is the bottom line.
Yeah, Empire Center is one way in, one way out, both sides. There's no other way.
Yeah.
no, that's why I don't like to go there. It's just the traffic alone is just ridiculous. So, also on Thursday, they finally did their walkthrough at Burbank High. Our mayor and vice mayor joined two of the school board members and the new acting, or what are they call the new superintendent right now. And they did a campus safety walk. They were supposed to have done that weeks ago, but the day before they did it, they actually fired the superintendent, so they canceled it back then. So,
yeah, they and what kind of got me is they posted a picture. I did not take it, but they all posed for a picture in front of Burbank High, in front of the, in the near the auditorium. I guess to prove that they've done their walkthrough. But I guess they're going to try to put into place before the school year, not only at Burbank High, but I'm told at Burroughs, those bungalows aren't going to be used. They're keeping everybody on campus now. If you don't have a kid at Burroughs, or you've never driven down Parrish or Keystone, when there's a class change, you could sit that intersection for 20 minutes because kids aren't going to let you drive by.
It's not good at all.
But several hundred kids are outside of the main campus, so that's one of the things that they're going to implement.
It's one of the problems with the softball program too. They have to walk to Olive Park every day. That's we talked about in our issue show. So,
but I guess they're moving forward again.
Well,
I don't know if we'll ever hear what they did.
I hope too bad they didn't take that picture with the camera they use at the school board meetings, because you wouldn't have recognized one of them in that picture.
He does have a pet peeve
because
he's got quite a few.
The camera they use at the school at their board meetings at their district office is absolutely ridiculous. If they have the same cameras in the high schools, of course they can't see anything. Those things are antiquated. And it shouldn't be, let's walk to school. Let's put in some good cameras so we can see the school.
Well, I think what they're looking at, and as I have gotten some information, at Burbank High, when they did the rebuilding to meet code, they had to, from the parking structure to the campus, they had to do one way. And now they learned they need to add some other security measures to make Burbank High safe. We've had now 2 incidents the last couple of months, and that is not good. So I guess they're looking at how the police and city and PD and school district can improve that.
When they say, people get on that campus, well, you've got gates open because the sports teams have to go in for practice, and they come in through gates, and you can't lock the gates, and the teams can't get in, especially on weekends and on evenings after school hours. And, the public uses the tracks at Burbank and Burroughs. So there's a lot of open gates that people can get in and get into on the school grounds.
It's funny you say that, because when I used to live in the flatlands of Burbank, I used to walk the track at Burroughs. Mm-hmm. And that was open, but it was closed off to the school. You couldn't get onto the campus. You could walk around the field. But now that I live up on the hill, I've tried to think, how do you get on the track after school hours or on the weekend if you want to exercise? Do you do it through the parking structure? Do you climb a fence? How do you get on to gain access to that campus.
Well, I know. We had when I was coaching at Burbank High, we had the gate open by the parking structure by the baseball field, so the kids could get in because you can't keep it shut. How are the kids going to get in?
Well, now that I live up there, that gate gets closed once during the school day.
Yes,
There's
during
a
the school
sign
day.
on
Yes, during school day it is closed.
And I think it says 3:30, 8:30 to 3:30. Use the 3rd Street entrance.
Well, that's what it says, but the practice started around 2:00. So I know that firsthand. Well, let's move on to Friday here. And Friday we had we had a shooting over on the back alley on San Jose, that 500 block of East San Jose. According to the police, one person was shot multiple times, and we heard another was injured by some flying glass. I guess a bullet went through some glass, and the glass shattered and struck somebody. They found multiple casings in the alley, and that's a we don't know if it's a drive-by. We don't know, but they do say it's not. It was a targeted shooting and not just a random shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We have one of our old reporters, John, lives in that block. He happened to be out of the country last week, but I know that block pretty well. You know that was not a random shooting.
No.
And thank goodness the injuries that the victim sustained were not life-threatening. They shot him in the arm, got him to a trauma center. But again, a shooting in Burbank is...
Well, that's big news.
Yeah.
Also, there was, a little earlier on Friday, we had a bomb scare. We had a backpack that was left on the Burbank Boulevard Bridge, and a passerby saw it was sitting there and it was smoking. Mm-hmm. And I thought there was no smoking allowed in downtown Burbank. Oh, that's a whole different thing. The backpack was actually emitting smoke, so they brought in fire department, who then brought in hazmat, and the police then shut everything down. They called the sheriff's bomb squad in. And Ross, you were there. You witnessed the whole thing. What did you see on that?
I listened. It was funny. They were supposed to. Went to Fire Station 11 for a fire chief's retirement, and I'm listening to PD, and I heard the call get dispatched, and backpack smoking. That's unusual in itself, and I just knew. You know what? They're closing the Burbank Bridge. Well, when they got there, Engine 11, they jumped out off their rig, but they didn't put water on it because you don't know what is in the bag burning. Mm-hmm. And it was emitting smoke. Well, they closed the Burbank Bridge, which that bridge gets used quite a bit. That caused the quagmire of traffic on San Fernando, people going over the bridge you can't anymore. You got freeway off-ramps that drop you onto the bridge right where
the whole northbound 5 freeway was closed.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they did. Again, if you remember a couple years ago, L.A. City blew up a whole community and a bomb truck because they did something incorrect. Well, kind of like we learned a week ago, and I believe, Ashley, you wrote the story on it, mm-hmm. in your own, in your kind of your hood.
Yeah.
There was something found, and they take all the precautions now. It is an inconvenience. I totally understand that. You're 5 o'clock on a Friday going northbound. You want to go to Castaic, or you're going up north, and you're stuck traveling through Burbank.
Yeah, I heard at one time it was backed up all the way to Griffith Park.
Wow.
L.A., all the way past Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
And these things take such a long time. I mean, we learned from the bomb scare in the neighborhood, and all those people displaced from their homes for hours.
A sheriff has to respond, and we
yeah.
don't have a sheriff station in Burbank, so
Well,
they're
and
coming
people
from a
don't
distance.
understand time is on their side. They have to set up a perimeter. Mm-hmm. Again, bring the explosive detail in. They're not just going to walk up to it, and open it up and see what it is. That guy was totally suited up.
Yeah.
He looked at it from a distance. He used all precautions. They took an X-ray of it.
Wow.
I tried, I was at the 76 station, and I was several thousand yards away from it. And through my long lens, he took an X-ray, different angles, went back to their truck, and apparently looked at what was inside. He approached a second time. Again, the freeway shut down, everything around there was shut down. And then they went in, and I couldn't see it from my view, but I looked at some of the footage that one of the news cameras, or the news helicopters, they zoomed in they showed the bomb guy apparently cutting open the backpack, and when he did that, it gave it more oxygen or something,
On fire.
and it caught on fire. Well, he backed off, and 10, 15 minutes later, there was nothing there.
Yeah,
They don't know what it was?
well, I called. I actually called the
Under investigation.
I called the sheriff's department, and they said we can't tell you. You have Burbank can tell you. Only Burbank can tell you. I got a hold of Burbank, and we're still investigating. We can't tell you now.
Yeah,
my thought was it's a backpack, and a kid left his cell phone inside it. You know, and a lithium battery caught fire like they do on planes, or it's a high school kid's bag, and he left his vape pipe in there.
Yeah.
And that vape pipe caught
but
on fire.
These are assumptions.
Right.
Yeah, you know,
Well,
just
because-
guesses. They're guesses. And to this day, Burbank has still not said
Well-
what was in the bag. Now, yeah, it burned down, but I'm sure.
They washed. There was no evidence. You could see on the ground where it burned, but there was nothing for them to pick up when it got done burning. And so, with school out, I guarantee they're not thinking kid's backpack. They will have to investigate that. Again, that is a crime that will be investigated. They'll look at the cameras that go over the bridge. They will find out who dropped that backpack. They will find out everything about that, because as I have learned in my many years of shooting, that these things have to be investigated, because you find one now and then we have another one in a couple of months or whatever. That's how you piece together somebody making. And isn't that real convenient? You drop it on the Burbank Bridge,
Yeah.
and I guarantee the guy whoever did it didn't think, oh, this will close down northbound 5. This will close down everything. Reroute buses. He's not thinking that. He has something else on his brain. But I guarantee that backpack didn't walk there by itself.
Yep.
And I always say during fire investigations, fires don't start themselves. So they need to find out.
Do rats start fires?
No.
Okay.
But they do say mouses do.
Okay.
Rats take Jello shots, which you'll hear about in my podcast coming up.
There's
That's a whole other story.
That's a good tease for you right there.
Yes,
That's
listen to
coming
Women of
soon.
Burbank.
Very good. On Friday, we also got an email from a developer about the new mixed-use project they're proposing for the corner of Pass and Riverside.
The old FedEx building.
Yes, the old Sorrentino's restaurant.
Wow, you're really jumping back in time.
Oh, yeah, long time.
You're old.
And too old. Anyhow, what they're proposing for this corner, they said they've scaled it down. So, 63 apartments above street level, and also going to have a retail and a restaurant, and 9 low-rise townhouse condominiums located along Pass Avenue. 8 units will be set aside as affordable housing. Of course, they always want to make sure they say that. 8 units for affordable housing. How about 70 units for affordable housing? But no, it's going to be 8 units.
Well, his previous plan for that included a boutique grocery store. And, he got the residents together that live in that neighborhood. And I guarantee they were all up in arms. Who wants a 7-story building looking into your backyard?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's 7 stories, but it's just it's too big for the area.
Well, so he met with the residents, and he changed.
And they said we don't want to market, but no, we want a restaurant. There are over 25 restaurants in that area. 25. So what? You can't find anything to eat. You need to go to that restaurant, and of course it'll only be open for maybe lunch and early dinner. It won't have late hours or anything. But there's 25 restaurants in that area. Do we really need another restaurant in that area? I mean, that's you say you have planning. Well, what kind of planning is that?
I don't even know what they would fill in there. There's still the place over by the airport where Randy's is and Jersey Mike's. That's tons of vacant restaurant space that still hasn't been filled.
Yeah,
I don't know what they're going to
But
bring in.
Again,
But they haven't filled that with business yet, have they?
Oh, yeah.
Is it all occupied now?
I don't know. if all
Amazon is
occupied.
over there.
Yeah,
and things,
Volt
but,
Lighting.
yeah, but
is
a
over there.
lot of those empty spaces on the bottom floor.
But on this one at Riverside and Pass, yes, there are a ton of restaurants, but you also look, there's an office building, 2 office buildings across the street from each other that probably a couple thousand square feet.
that are mostly vacant right now.
Well, right now, but this guy, it's going to take this guy 2 years to build it.
Oh, yeah.
And think about it. He's sitting on the land. You want to make money on your land, so I understand why he wants to do it. It just kind of gets you that traffic at Riverside and Pass at 8 in the morning is going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah. They said they were going to put 3 levels of underground parking in that you can access off Riverside Drive, so...
I don't know if that's going to help the traffic at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Well, you know what? That was kind of it for the week it was. We will be back in a second after this word.
How would you like your business advertised in this very spot? My Burbank Talks is looking for businesses interested in a 30-second spot to appear in our podcasts. If you're interested, please email advertising@myburbank.com, and we'll be glad to discuss all of the exciting opportunities with you. Now, back to our podcast.
Okay, well, the week that will be, starting with today, of course.
And Ashley's still with us.
Ashley, how you doing, Ashley?
Round 2.
Are you enjoying this, Ashley?
I love it.
Oh,
Well, we got the air conditioner turned on too.
It's so cold in here.
Well, that's why we wanted to make sure you were awake.
I won't fall asleep in the Arctic.
Absolutely. So, staying with the theme of all the city people must be gone this last 2 weeks, the Planning Commission meeting that was scheduled today has been canceled. But we did find out something very interesting from that's going to happen. A social media post says that the Cartoon Network on 3rd Street is going to be vacating the building they've been in, for a long time, and they're moving to the Warner Brothers property. Same way that NBC actually left all of Alameda and went to Universal Studios because Universal bought NBC. Well, I guess Warner Brothers is condensing and bringing the Cartoon Network onto their lot, so we're going to lose the Cartoon Network. And I don't know what the network's going to happen with the network or jobs or anything else. Who knows? But they are condensing.
They were taken over by Warner Brothers, so all those employees. But a lot of people, and hopefully they listen to our podcast. I've been in that building many, many, many times, the Cartoon Network building. People didn't realize the number. There is a stairwell. They let the employees go in when you went from floor to floor, and these people would draw cartoons on these walls in their building. A lot of people didn't know that building had a rooftop patio.
Yeah,
I shot
these are events up there.
In fact, when Burbank celebrated their centennial, I shot a fireworks shot up there. My daughter-in-law, Samantha Benson, worked in that building as a executive assistant at one time. Zita, who had gotten her that job, Cartoon Network, they did a lot for our schools. At Stevenson, she had Lowe's build outdoor planters on wheels for kids that couldn't get on the ground and these kids that needed help. I mean, Cartoon Network did a lot. Brian Miller, good friend, has been running things. They ran out of space in that building and had taken over part of what's called the Black Diamond building. A lot of people will recognize the name Black Diamond. And if you drive down Glenoaks...
That used to be a Kiss song. I bet you didn't know that. It was a Kiss song back in the 70s.
Now I really don't want to embarrass myself and ask who's Kiss, but I do know.
You scared me for a second.
But on the outside of the Black Diamond, it has Cartoon Network. But you know what? This is production. Burbank is the media capital of the world. Production company will go into that building and love it. And we used to have a restaurant who was one of our sponsors right there at 3rd and Palm.
Right, Milano's. And yes, he was shut down for a long time. But one of the reasons that he went under, he opened up thinking, well, you got an office space with 600 people, he would get business. And they've never went back and occupied that office. One of the reasons why I'm told that building is going to be another restaurant, different type of facility and everything. Well, to work out the parking, it's always going to be an issue, I think, because people don't seem to support in that area. And people don't want to walk up from San Fernando just for that one restaurant.
Yeah.
Very true. We have, there's been quite a few restaurants in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, also, Ross went over to, where's the old Bed Bath & Beyond, correct?
Yes, and I
okay,
looked for the bed sheets and my
right.
pillows, and I couldn't find
And
them.
they've changed into a Disney auction location. So this week and this week only, if you're interested in seeing Disney memorabilia, the old Dumbo rides and the people movers and all those things and the art and there's a ton of stuff. There's a lot of Disney stuff. It's a huge event, and it's going to be an auction. It's all being auctioned off, and they filled the entire Bed Bath & Beyond building with all these items that they're going to be auctioning off. And you have until July 16th to go in and see this stuff. And you said there was a line out the door when you.
Well, Saturday and Sunday, when our reporter Devin, who covered, is writing a piece on it, we'll have it on myBurbank tomorrow.
And you have some great pictures of it too.
Oh yeah, there was you can auction or buy at auction a Dumbo car.
That's amazing.
You can buy the safari boat. You could buy the clothes that those Disneyland people wore.
Even their name badges.
Well, Walt Disney had his own ID cards and badges. All of it is being auctioned off. They had a separate room. I think it was called Gift Shop. All the little figurines, all the Disney properties, tchotchkes, they were selling in there. The drawings, the first drawings of Disneyland are on the walls. They're being auctioned off. I mean, when I was looking,
the first drawings, is that the Disneyland that was supposed to be in Burbank?
Yes.
Ah.
They're up on the walls, Epcot Center.
And the city council said, we don't want a carnival in our city. So they went to Anaheim.
That they did. But if you look at it now, how much space they've taken over.
Yeah.
But this auction, Van Eaton Galleries, you could go to their website, vegalleries.com.
Yep.
It'll be in the story on myBurbank tomorrow. There'll be a slew of pictures. But it blew me away. I mean,
Yeah. It's only open on Saturday and Sunday?
no, it was open, I think, Wednesday through Sunday, and I think it's the same this week.
Okay.
They had to give the
No,
employees a couple
16th is the last day it's open. And,
Right, because the auction is going to take
Right.
place there.
Right. So, yeah, that'd be Saturday, I think. So, yeah.
But it was funny watching some of the people at the event. How much does it cost to go to Disneyland? You can go there and it was free. But I mean, some of the things.
I saw
they
little
had.
tiki things that were doing a little song or something.
Well,
that was the animation was working.
They had it all worked up. Mike from Van Eaton Galleries gave me a little story behind them. They made things work. They made things light up and function. And it was just
increases the value, and people see it working. They say, "Oh, I want that."
They had. Oh, don't get me started. It's a small world. They had the drawing and the mock-up of It's a Small World. The miniature.
Do you know that "It's a Small World" song was actually sang by the St. Charles Choir?
By the choir or for the choir?
No, by the choir. They record them.
Now, see, Ashley, did
He knows the most random things. You need to go on Jeopardy.
No, I just need to. I've been around too long. I just need to hurry up and die.
Well, it's funny how it blew me away. I mean, the stuff, the railroad.
Mm-hmm.
The original railroad, they had a car. They had not a car, a little truck. I said to our writer, I said, what would you most want there? And you can go to their website and it'll tell you what the starting bid's going to be.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
But what a great use of that space.
Yeah.
The old Bed Bath & Beyond, it's sitting there empty. The guy, Mike, told me when he rented it, they still had the shelving in, the walls in. He had to clear that out. He brought a crew in to clear that out. They put every poster that Disney ever created. They had a wall of just posters you could buy. And they did a great job. And I thought about, I walked out and I saw our assistant city manager walking in, Judy and her family, and the amount of people, that came to Burbank.
Well, people are obsessive about Disney merchandise.
Oh, they sure are. I have a good friend.
Now
Yes.
actually, when was the last time you took your family to Disneyland for the day?
This month.
Oh, really? Okay.
My mother-in-law works for Disney.
Oh, okay. So
We get to go a couple
wow.
times a year, which
because
is
I think
very
I think a
helpful.
ticket to go Disneyland's like what $150 to $200.
Yeah, it's not worth it to
Yes.
me, honestly, because if you think about the tickets, the parking, the food, the souvenirs, the snacks, it's like I can't even imagine.
That'd probably be about $1,000 for 4 people.
And it was such a busy day, and you can't get on everything. The rides are being closed down because they're being remodeled, so it's pushing you to other rides. So to pay all that money and then to only go on a few rides, you have to like do a week out there. Like,
Well,
a
it's funny,
couple
when I
days
walked
at
in, I
least.
said to Mike, who this was only half of their warehouse
Oh wow.
of stuff. I said, I came in here looking for Bed Bath & Beyond pillowcases and sheets. And he said, you're going to laugh. The beds at the hotel, Walt Disney had a private apartment at Disneyland.
Yes, you did.
Those sheets they have.
Oh.
And he said it's not at this auction. But I couldn't even joke about it because everything that Walt Disney touched,
It's
they
gold.
had.
I think he had a room right above the fire station.
I believe so,
Right?
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
There's
Yeah.
a little window. That's where he would look out.
But they had their security badges. Disneyland security or Disneyland inspector, fire inspector, fireman, engineer. You could bid on those. Were going for like $300.
Wow.
Starting bid. You know, have you ever gone to an auction? Don't raise your hand.
Yeah.
So it's free to go to see all this stuff
Yes.
right now?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah, don't scratch your nose, or all of a sudden you just bought something.
So to come to Burbank, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Tuesday, tomorrow. Our city council meeting's been canceled because they're all
On vacation.
on vacation in Hawaii or something, doing whatever they do. But tomorrow is the 45-day limit for the state law that says that anytime an officer is involved in a shooting, they must release the video within 45 days. And tomorrow is the 45th day. And the Burbank police says they will be releasing the video tomorrow of the officer-involved shooting that happened at Home Depot. So we're going to see what the body cams picked up, and I'm sure it's going to be heavily edited and redacted and everything else, which I understand. But they're going to show that they had no chance, or no choice in what they had to do. The guy, I guess went into a prone position that he was going to shoot, and they don't know he doesn't have a gun. A guy goes into a shooting stance. Why would you go to a shooting stance unless you really had a gun?
And called and said that he was going to be shooting there.
Right.
So that's
and you were there, Ashley.
Yeah.
You covered that event for us.
Yeah. They had the whole Home Depot locked down. They had all the customers still in there. The car lot closed down. They responded very quickly, and I believe they had to do what they had to do.
Right. Well, we
with that
did a
information.
play-by-play with the radio calls of the thing, and I think it was like 9 to 10 minutes between the time they got there and the time the guy was already in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. It happened that quickly.
Yeah.
It just shows you how fast things happen sometimes.
Yeah. There's just so many scares going on. You can't be at the movie theater or, anywhere this can happen. And so that they responded quickly, and they have to be
in the
safe.
situation like that, you're right. You just said a good one. Movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
You were at Krispy Kreme.
Yeah.
I know, talking to some law enforcement friends, that people, you get so locked into going to get that chocolate donut or getting your popcorn at the movie. You always need to remember your exit.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a movie theater, how do you get out?
Yeah.
If you're at Krispy Kreme, what entrance to go in and go out? You don't know. And
You mean when you're on a plane, you're supposed to actually listen to the instructions of where the emergency exits are?
well, nowadays with everything going on, you need to be
Yeah.
aware
Yeah,
of your
absolutely.
surroundings and everything.
Yeah. We were just at the movies with the kids, and that was like the whole thing in my brain as we were on the row where you can walk in front. So there's like exit to exit, and we were in that front row, and I was like, that was not a smart move. We have nowhere to hide. We have nowhere to go. We're completely open. And that's not something you want to ever think about. But in this day and age, those are the things that you have to think about and plan ahead for, where you're going to sit.
Well, I want to throw this one in here. We don't always have the honor of having you with us at this podcast, but you had a real life experience a couple weeks ago that you have 2 boys, and accidentally,
Yep.
your youngest started turning blue.
Yeah. Yep. Stop.
And here's a
breathing.
mother that has 2 kids, and This is not a P.
The thing is, though, is that, you always hear about, oh, here's what you should do and everything else. It's back in your mind. And when it happens, the question is always this: what are you going to do in that moment?
Right.
Well, and that's why I say
Ashley did everything right and actually saved her child's life.
This is when the shit hit the fan.
Yeah. I always thought I was a flight person. In a fight or flight moment, I would be the flight person. I probably am in most situations. And you're not prepared for this. My son is older. Choking hazards are not something that we think about anymore.
So this is Riley, your youngest.
10 years old.
10 years old. Mm-hmm. Comes in.
Yep. He was
giving
pulling
the sign that
two pieces of, well, we didn't know at the time what was happening, but he came in, hands on his throat, not breathing, starting to turn dark red, then to the blue. And I immediately jumped up and started hitting him on his back. And you go through all these things in your brain, like the pictures of how you lay an infant over and then how you hit somebody. And there's different things you do for different ages. And it's like this big flash goes through your head of all the videos you've seen and the things you've been told. And I started to hit him and it wasn't working. And I immediately just grabbed him from behind and started doing the Heimlich and, thrusting him in the air as hard as I could. And I've seen videos where you could really hurt somebody doing that, but at that moment you just want to try to save your child. And then after about 5 times of doing the Heimlich, something hit the ground and he gasped for air. And my husband was watching, and because I had him, so I was behind, but my husband saw him turning blue and then purple and the eyes starting to roll back into his head. And then there was no time for thinking. There was no time for, what am I going to do if this doesn't work? What happens when he does pass out? And I try not to think about it, but all those things did go through my head, and I'm just so thankful, that when you're told something over and over, it really does sink in.
We talk about advertisements that same way. When you see an advertisement on Burbank, you don't need it, but that one time you scratch your head and you go, oh, that ad on the front page of my Burbank. Yeah. But your instinct, thank God Riley is fine.
Yep.
But it was a Lego, folks.
Yeah.
A Lego. How many times have you stepped on a Lego in your house and you scream holy murder?
Well, I never have.
Well,
Yeah,
but,
and this was a round. It was like a oval shaped, and he was trying to pull 2 pieces apart with his mouth, which I do all the time. And let me tell you, he's asking for that brick separator every single day now with his Legos, and so am I. So I think it's just good to refresh your memory on these kinds of things. It's not, you never think it's going to happen to you or your child or what you're going to do in that situation, but just going through that in your head so that when that time comes, you don't have to think about it. You've already done the thinking and you can just move into action.
And it's funny because you just said that the other day when those firemen graduated, you wonder, how do you wake up at 3 a.m. and to put on your turnouts and your gear and get on the rig and you go to a fire? You do it so many times. You train as if it's real. You train, and those firemen, when they get a bell at 2, 3 in the morning, and they get to a house that's fully burning, they've done this training. You do what your training has taught you.
Yeah, and not panicking. I saw somebody that made a comment on the video of the firemen going to that fire and that they weren't hustling quick enough. And it's in those moments you cannot lose sight of what you're doing. You have to stay calm. You have to think clearly. When you're rushing and you're hustling and you're running and things, you make mistakes and there's no room for error when it comes to people's lives.
And being a fireman many, many years ago, I learned firemen don't run because you're either going to trip over a hose, something will get in your way, you'll get caught by something. It's not going anywhere. You are task-oriented. Get the tasks that you have to do done. And firemen are task-oriented very much.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, too, it's just, this is not babies who choke. How old's Riley?
10.
He's 10, and there's people that are adults who choke.
Oh, yeah.
And next time you want to open the beer with your mouth, instead of unscrewing
I'm not opening anything.
That beer.
And what if you're alone? I've heard where you have to thrust yourself onto the edge of a corner of a table or a chair. Yeah. So if you're alone, what do? You have to perform the Heimlich on yourself.
So I know we deviated a little, but we were talking about the shooting. When you're in the store like Home Depot and you hear bang, 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 You know, you got to think, where's the exit? Where's the safe spot?
Yeah.
If you're in your own house
Yeah.
and a Lego goes down your kid's throat, you don't have time to.
You never know.
think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a just.
When's the next earthquake going to hit? We don't know. When it does, who knows what's going to happen?
Where are you gonna go? When I was younger and I first started driving before there was like GPS and all that stuff, and we had like the Thomas guide in the car and everything. My dad would print out directions from every freeway how to get home in case anything happened. If there was a freeway down, how to get home from every location. He kept it in my glove compartment because he was the ultimate preparer.
That's funny. I had a roommate, Larry Kamori. He could be anywhere, and he just had to find the light tower on top of Mount Lee. Mm-hmm. And he said, just go toward the light tower and he'd be home.
Yeah, always prepared.
Well, let's move on to Wednesday here. Wednesday, now Senior Citizens Board is, I think, scheduled to meet, but the city website doesn't have an agenda, so I guess they're not doing the Brown Act because it's been 72 hours before the meeting, and it doesn't say where or when or if it's been canceled or not canceled, so we don't know. Sorry about that, everybody. We can only go by the information we can get. Also, on Wednesday is going to start a little bit of a heat stroke here in Burbank, all L.A., and they're saying anywhere from 5 to 10 days.
Get heat stroke.
Yeah, well, it's going to be 5 to 10 days where the heat's going to be above 100. And there'll be cooling centers open and everything else, but you got to start being aware of that stuff. And now, Ashley, you've got, with kids, what do you look at? Because kids they just go out and they run around in the heat. They don't think about that. What do you worry about as a parent, or what do you look for in a parent when your kids are out in that kind of a temperature and not realizing that they're dehydrating?
Yeah. Even my oldest son will sit outside sometimes and not realize he's been out there for so long, and then come in completely sunburned. And we've had days at the beach where he's gotten really bad burns and blistered. And luckily we most houses have central air where we have cooling centers. I'm sure Verdugo Pool will be open.
Verdugo, the library usually will be open extra hours. People don't realize. Go to the mall. The mall's air conditioned. There's places to sit there.
Go watch your movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
AMC's are air conditioned. That's going to cost you $18 for 2.5 hours.
I think AMC right now has a special for summer months. You can save some money at AMC, and that's where all the Burbank theaters are. But again, hydrate. You can't say it enough. People, it has happened to me just a couple weeks ago before we did a podcast.
Yeah.
I covered an assignment with you at Lakeside.
Mm-hmm.
I was sweating profusely. I came over here and
we had to hose them down.
Literally, I had to lay down and.
What are the symptoms? What do you feel when you're dehydrated?
I got I didn't feel good, and that was the biggest. And I just lost, I said, I need to lay down or something. Craig got me a bottle of some liquid ice or whatever. It's Sterling ice, whatever it's called.
Oh, yeah.
Sipped on that. He got me a cool towel to put on my head.
Yeah.
Laid on the couch for about a half an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, it was called paramedics or whatever. And I happened to go to my cardiologist the next day. My heart was fine. He thinks it was either a drop in blood sugar, but I had told him that we were out covering something. You don't realize,
and you didn't eat either. You didn't have any food in you either. So
exactly. You don't put it all together, and it's happened to me a couple of times, especially if you take meds, folks. If you are on any medicine, I listened to a doctor from St. Joe's. You don't realize you've been taking blood pressure medicine. Mm-hmm. It's a diuretic. So
well, we always keep the Pedialyte drinks in the house too, which is very helpful.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's see what else we got on Wednesday here. The Board of Library Trustees has a 5:30 meeting at the Central Library. They have one report, which will be on team development. Here's something in Burbank Glendale Pasadena Regional Housing Trust meeting. Is from 4 to 6 in the council chambers. Nikki Perez is the Burbank representative, and they're going to provide direction on funding to do a funding application to the state to authorize them to apply for funding for a program that will help developers with their fees and provide loans to homeowners who wish to build ADUs for low-income individuals. So while we need housing, it's interesting that they're going to give grants out to developers for fees, which I don't understand. Those are the people that have the money, but we're going to give them do that. Give them fees, or give them grants, I should say. Anyhow, site acquisition, architectural design, entitlement processing, environmental reviews can all be costly. Yeah, it can be costly, and they've got the money to build those things. So I don't know. That's what they're going to do on Wednesday. We'll move on to Thursday. Burbank Cultural Arts Commission has been canceled. Now, that's the commission that Suzanne Wirtz was on and has now told the council she will no longer serve because they're not being, the city's not talking to them about what's going on. And the matter being, of course, what's going on right now with the Colony Theater, which is, we have a very extensive report by our reporter Lisa Paredes today on myBurbank, and it's one of the best stories we've ever done.
Well, I think
and she
if
gets
you look
into
at that article,
the entire
Ashley,
process.
The city has requested what's called an RFP process, request for proposal. Now, people think the Colony Theater, Burbank owns. It doesn't. It's part of the mall. It's a different building. At one time, it was part of the.
But I believe it was a requirement that they put that kind of thing in when they developed the mall as part of the arts for Burbank or something. I think.
Well, first it was a part of LA County Arts Commission, and then they gave it to Burbank, and Burbank said we'll take it over, but the operator literally has been I'm going to use the word strung along. And this isn't the only RFP that I've heard has gotten strung along. Yeah. And I know you have some background on it. Our article is very lengthy. I would highly recommend anybody who reads it.
If you want to hear about city frustration, go read that article, because what's going on, I think is very unprofessional. Ashley, I know you're involved with the Colony, and I know you really can't say much, but you have any thoughts on it?
I think it's good for people to know that the Colony rents it from the city, and the city has the property, and the Colony wants to stay there, and so they had to put a proposal in for their space again to get a lease, and so right now they've been month to month, which has been very difficult to operate especially when you're running a theater and trying to book people and productions and events.
About 6 months to a year to really book in a production?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's been a little tricky.
You can't book a show.
Right.
Heather has done you guys had a great performance there. You can't book actors and a show for 3 weeks or a month.
Yeah.
You need to plan out. And she has a business plan. Mm-hmm. They've trashed that. She's had to remark that a couple of times. And right now is a hard time for theaters.
Yeah.
Mark Taper Forum comes to mind, and some of the other theaters. We are so lucky to have a theater like the Colony in Burbank. I have been there hundreds of times.
Yeah. Different
shows. The school district uses it. Family Service Agency uses it. I mean, not in other people.
Well, that's what I think Heather did such a great job of making this rental program so it's accessible to the community, and that's the best part about the Colony is, the Burbank Cultural Arts comes and does events, and the schools come and do events, and it's an accessible, available space for cultural arts for the community. But how can somebody come in and say, I'd like to book it for November when we don't even know if we're going to have it for August? So that was really difficult for them to work on. And so, the proposal, the whole position has been a really difficult process. And what Suzanne did at the meeting was a really powerful statement. She wasn't just vocal, she made action. I think it was a really great stand she took.
Yeah, well, Burbank is the media capital of the world, which involves arts and culture. Mm-hmm. People have always downplayed arts and culture in this city. And I think, honestly, the city management has no clue when it comes to something like that.
Yeah.
The Arts Commission, they had some members on it that had some history, and they got pushed out of the, you know.
They weren't allowed to be a part of the proposal process, which was really disappointing because they're the ones that bring the art to Burbank, and they're the ones that keep the art alive, and they do, you know, the utility boxes and the murals and so many things that are putting art in Burbank. So to not have them as part of it was one of the most disappointing things.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's also the process too. The drama teacher bureaus or the vocal music music teacher bureaus, they try to put a proposal in for their side business, and there was something wrong with the application, and the city would not tell them what was wrong with it.
Well, they're not a nonprofit,
Right.
and the city wanted.
Well, they also tried to get them to find out what was wrong. Oh, we can't tell you what was wrong. Well, but it said you're non-responsive. Well, we've sent you emails. Well, it doesn't matter. And then they've taken this process, and all of a sudden they put a second interview in, and it was never called for a second interview. And they said, well, we have the right to change the rules anytime we want to for whatever we want to do. And now you wonder, this is the same organization they run our golf course, they're running our tennis center, they're running the hockey rink. They have so many hands and so many. This is not a hockey rink. This is not a golf course.
That's the difference.
This is an entire different facility, which we looked at a different way.
That's a different thing. The tennis center is run by an outside contractor.
But they still have a park and rec contract.
Well, they have the contract. Same with the hockey rink.
Yeah.
Outside contract. Well, that's what they want to do with the colony, but they don't have any expertise talking about the colony.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really unfortunate, and I don't know how it will be straightened out because
it's a mess, and everybody should go read that article on myBurbank.
Lisa did a really great job. It was so thorough, and it touched so many different points of view on this story. So
well, it goes to show people, if you thought it was hard putting a new toilet in your bathroom in your house with planning and code and permits, look at something like the Colony Theater.
Yeah.
And, oh my gosh.
In all honesty, too, there's a reason that there just aren't events in Burbank anymore. You go to all these other cities and they have parades and this and that, the 4th of July parade and all these things they do. And Burbank really has nothing except for Holiday in the Park now. And that's, and of course, Ashley's very involved in that. And it's just, they put you through so many hoops and everything else in Burbank that nobody wants to do business with the city here anymore because there's just so many restrictions that other cities just don't have.
Well, it's funny. I talk to plumbers every so on, and that is an ongoing line with people, contractors that come into the city. I don't want to deal with Burbank. I happen to have a contract with the city for my photography. Talk about jumping through hoops.
And you're not treated equally with other photographers either. You're treated differently for some reason.
And like my insurance. I gave what the city requested to my insurance agent, and the guy said, I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't ever remember having to deal with the wording that the city of Burbank wants us to put in your policy. Why? And I don't think it's going to change because I think the city staff just turns their head on it.
Well, Ashley, you're running Holiday in the Park, and I know you've already started to work on it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later in the show, but good luck with all the permits and all the waiting in line.
We almost didn't make it last year, so we'll see.
Well, good luck with all that. So, let's see here.
On Friday.
Well, on Thursday, we still got the Park and Rec Board meeting has been canceled. They went to Hawaii also, I guess. The Burbank Water and Power is having a community meeting at the Water and Power building from 6 to 8 p.m. And they're working on a long-term blueprint to continue providing reliable, affordable, and sustainable power for the residents and businesses of Burbank. They're working on a 20-year plan. And I don't like these 20-year plans. I can see a 10-year plan, but the way things change in this world with solar and with electric cars and everything, 20 years, there's no way 20 years ago we would have thought we had what we had today. I think 10 years is a better, but that's up to them.
Well,
Anyhow.
They do have an ad running on myBurbank that you could sign up for notifications regarding their plan. And again, like I say, nobody has a crystal ball for 20 years away. Did we even know what COVID was going to do to us for a couple of years? Yeah, these plans for 20 years away
Yeah, the Burbank 2035 plan. Holy cow. So long away. So long away. Oh. Wow, there's a little, that was an unintended, but it seemed to be that's pretty funny. So what else do we have here? On Friday, Leadership Burbank is having a beach bash fundraiser at the Hilton.
Not fundraiser. Look what it says.
I was wondering if that was a typo.
Oh, they're having a beach bash. Oh, a friend raiser.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You can raise your friend.
That's right.
In case your friend is low, you can raise your friend, I guess.
That's what is on their flyer. You know what? When you have spell check, it wouldn't let me correct. It kept saying, this is spelled wrong. And I'm going, no, it isn't. That little button that says ignore,
Yeah.
I kept hitting it and it didn't like. Yes, friend raiser at the Hilton Gardens poolside. If you're interested in the Leadership Burbank 24 class, you should be there. And you know what? If you're there,
And who's going to be covering it?
I'll be covering
There you
it and
go.
I'll get your picture.
Fantastic. Saturday, we have,
Now, this one I put on here for you, Craig.
thank you. Music and movement for preschoolers and their families. From 10 to 10:45 at the Buena Vista Library Park area. You can get the Wiggles out. So in case you have your Wiggles are in, you can get your Wiggles out with music and movement, an outdoor program for preschoolers and their families. Dance, sing, and play instruments with your friends. In case you have a friend raiser. They'll meet in the park behind Buena Vista Library. No registration is required. And also on Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m., the Burbank Historical Society is going to have their annual Member Appreciation Barbecue and 50th Anniversary Celebration at the Gordon Howard Museum, which is at 1100 Clark, which is right next to George Isaiah Park. It's that house you see out there, but they have a very big 2-story building in the back, which is a great facility. And myBurbank Talk is going to be there doing a live podcast on the scene.
That's correct. They're having, I don't know if this one they're doing, barbecue. They have tons of food, tours, something to bring your family. And the nice thing is, you know what? For $20, you can join and be a member of the Historical Society.
That's a Historical Society.
Yeah, you got to put that into
Okay. Yeah, don't say Historical
autotype.
Society.
Correct.
There we go.
But we'll be there. We'll be doing a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley, when's the last time you brought the kids to the Historical Society?
Yeah, we only went once for a Boy Scout trip, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah, people don't. Burbank has some really neat artifacts besides the historical bus, the big green bus you see from Moreland Bus Company that was built right here in Burbank. They have some antique fire engines. They have motorcycles. The Road Kings have some cars there, and it's just.
If you're a longtime Burbank resident, it'd be fun to go there and you can reminisce about a lot of different things. You say, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, that place. Oh, that thing. Yeah. So it'll be fun. So we'll be out there. Come by and say hi to us. So that's kind of it for the week that is going to be. But we have a couple things on here that notes of interest. Ross, you hear that? I see you left a note here that the old Lakeside Car Wash property is the project there has either been dropped or has been reworked. So
I had heard some.
It's funny that's a place that they wanted to keep the car wash sign
Right.
in a big, which made no sense at all. It's like, oh, if we keep this, everybody was going to like our project. Well, people are a little smarter than that, I think.
Well, I know the people that used to own that car wash were good friends of our family, and she sold it many years ago, and they always had the idea of building apartments with some retail on the bottom. Mm-hmm. I like I said, I heard some groundswell that apparently the developer, the project was refused by the planning board. It was said, go back and do some better planning. They did not like something, and I hear the developer's having trouble with it. I'll do some more research and
we'll look into that. Also, downtown's becoming a destination for visitors with all the hotels. The foot traffic has increased since the old days, and there's a couple new restaurants that have opened recently.
yeah, I put that down for people. I know, like Craig, and some people don't get out as much, and If you haven't been downtown today, I happen to live on the hill, and I got to come past Olive. And tonight at 8:30, sitting at Olive in the mall or San Fernando Boulevard, there were 50 to 100 people walking in front of me. And this is what, a Monday night, 9 o'clock. Then now with all the hotels downtown, downtown Burbank has become a destination.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to stay in L.A. where there's robberies happening every day. They don't want to stay in Hollywood where the crime rate is so high. So they're staying here in Burbank. And Burbank is a safe place. You know, just yesterday, my son was riding on the Chandler bike path at 10:30 last night. There were 4 ladies walking, doing their exercise, having their conversation. Between 10 and 10:30 at night. Burbank is so safe that you can do that. And they 4 ladies, I wouldn't do it alone.
Yeah.
But 4 of them together. You go downtown, it's a bustling place going on. So,
Right. We also want to mention that, down the line this month, just to get it on your calendars, the Friday food truck night in Magnolia Park is returning. Used to be called the Ladies and Gents Night Out, I think. Now they're calling it the Food Truck Night. So that's going to be happening on July 28th, the last Friday. It's a Friday, correct, Ross?
last Friday of the month.
Last Friday of the month, then. So,
And someday we'll have a story. We'll have Ashley come back and talk about. Ashley had worked that for many, many years.
Yeah.
She recreated.
that was her baby.
It was
Like,
her baby
yeah, 11,
for many, many years.
maybe like 10, 11 years I was
But
working on
where that all came up from, why they did that,
Mm-hmm.
the rent and, the ladies weren't making it. And it's a
It
kind
is
of
a
a neat
good
story.
story. Yeah. It's really what brought the neighborhood together. But I'm excited to see. So they have a new name now.
Yeah, the Magnolia Park Food Truck Fridays. They
Okay.
have a new art design. They have a new business. One of the new businesses came along, Jeff. And Ashley has some other projects. So
Yeah.
you've kind of left
I
Magnolia
retired.
Park. You
kind
retired.
of.
Let's hope those food trucks don't have sustainable plastic instruments in there, or things that and that's a whole other story. We'll
But,
get into that.
people want to know about it. It's a great time. It's hot, in a couple weeks. I think he has currently 15 or 19 food trucks
Okay.
signed up. And we just want you, people always say, I don't know when things are happening.
Yeah.
Let's get it out there. You can go to visitmagnoliapark.com. There's a tab on that page that talks a little about it. I don't know what food trucks will be there, but we'll find out. But then, and I know we're winding down.
But
what's the next big thing
Well,
happening?
we have Ashley here. What a great time to bring it up, and that is the holiday in the park, and you are in charge of it. You are putting together.
Yeah.
She
You're
is
dealing with
the
city permits.
producer of that show.
Yeah. That's my second baby holiday in the park.
So what's going on with that? And
Yeah.
you're looking for vendors? Are you
Yeah.
looking for things? Tell me
So,
what you're looking for.
Holiday in the Park is going to be Friday, November 17th. It's always the Friday after Thanksgiving. It kicks off before Thanksgiving, just kidding. It kicks off the holidays, so it's before everything. We've already opened registration, so we've got exhibitors open, classic car show open, food trucks open. We've already started filling up pretty quickly. Early bird registration's August 15th, and then after that, the prices will go up. But yeah, so we're dealing with the city as always, but the city of Burbank is also one of our biggest sponsors of the event as well.
I hear that this year they're actually going to do put in some of the services they're going to donate to the.
Well, from our community development department,
Yeah.
they are, again, Magnolia Park is a destination.
Yeah.
This is a big event, and thank goodness they are helping. People don't understand. It costs
Oh my
$50,000
gosh.
to $70,000 to put on an event like
Just the
this.
street closure alone is almost $20,000.
Exactly. So the city is paying for the street closure. They're paying for the decorations across the street.
Yeah.
They're picking up that tab, which we thank them for. But then
But everything else comes from us. So all the food truck fees, the exhibitor fees, everything that comes in for Holiday in the Park goes back out to Holiday in the Park. So we pay for lighting, bathrooms, insurance, permits, so many different things. Police, that's one of our biggest things. We spend about $14,000 to make sure that the event is safe. And we'll have the classic car show. Burbank Road Kings will be out. We'll have the stage sponsored by Elevate Burbank. We always have the old cars come out from police and fire. They bring out their vehicles. So it's going to be really
last
exciting.
year there was a fire engine out there kids could climb on.
Yeah, SWAT vehicles.
Truck, the Bearcat.
Yeah.
Don't ask me. I have it written down at home.
Ballistics.
That's right. I had it written down and I didn't bring it. What Bearcat stands for.
Artillery.
Next week, you got your homework for you.
But you have, as you can tell, Ashley has done a lot of homework on this so far, and she has a ton of planning. You're doing some fundraisers to help raise some funds?
Yeah, we're actually going to kick off a fundraiser in August at Tequila's, so that you'll see that coming out on the social media. We also have a GoFundMe that really helps the community get involved and support the event because it does cost a lot to put it on. And then just having the exhibitors come out, the organizations that sign up. We have city departments that come out and nonprofits and people selling things. And
This is a true community event. We've been told by people in the city anywhere from 25 to 35,000 people have shown up that night, and it gets crowded. myBurbank was out there last year. This year we'll be out there again.
With a podcast this year.
That's right, with a podcast. But there's so much for anybody and everybody.
Oh, yeah. And some people don't even make it the whole 9 blocks because there is so much going on. They're like, we didn't even make it to the car show. And last year was incredible. We had an aerial artist and a Ferris wheel. Every year is very different. So we don't know what we're going to have. It just depends on who's sponsoring and who's attending and what the exhibitors are doing. But it's always been fun. Everyone always has a great time. And I start the planning in June, so it's a big process.
Okay, so if somebody wants to get involved or they want to sign up for that, how's the best way to do that?
Then go to holidayintheparkburbank.com, and then you can sign up as an exhibitor, classic car, food truck, ask any questions on there. You can message through the Instagram. You can email me, holidayintheparkburbank@gmail. Lots of ways to get a hold of us.
And you know what? I will tell you, I'm part of that committee. We need volunteers. If you want to help out that night, and you don't have to be committed the whole night, we could use you for setup.
Yeah.
We can use you for when the food trucks start coming in. They don't know Burbank. We can have you.
That's really the busiest time. That's where my anxiety goes through the roof is when load in. Once the event starts, it's cake. But it's that moment of getting, think about all those exhibitors, all those cars, those food trucks, going into their exact locations, setting up in their exact spaces. It is a lot of work, and we do need a lot of help.
And you only have X amount of time to do that because they shut the street down at a certain time.
Yeah.
You don't have all day to get that set up.
Well, in fact, we're talking this year to make it a little easier on Ashley and the whole crew of shutting the street down a little earlier this year.
Yeah.
Pleady, we got to work with them.
We usually get like an hour and a half load in, and it is rough. The cars are trying to pull out as attendees are starting to arrive. So hopefully we'll have a little bit more time frame this year.
And I will tell you personally that Ashley Erikson and the committee has stayed over and made sure that boulevard is as clean as it was 2 weeks ago or the week after.
Yeah.
We pick up every straw, every cup. Even now the city pays for cleanup, which we've had some arguments on what they're picking up. But honestly, you cannot tell that there was an event there the night before.
We put on those rubber gloves and we hand walk the whole street, side streets, and pick up everything.
Now, there's a committee that Ashley has put together, and if you're, not interested on volunteering for that, but she can use help, and let's just make this another fantastic holiday in the park.
Yeah.
Okay, well, finally, we went a little over our time tonight, but that's okay. A lot of stuff going on. Finally tonight, we come up with Ross's pet peeve of the week. So,
well, I will tell you that Craig has some pet peeves. I have pet peeves. Driving to the studio tonight, I passed Burbank High. Well, today, 4 times I went past Burbank High. They have signage on the fence of events that happened a year ago. And I remember working as a fireman at Warner Brothers when they filmed Blade Runner. And that was supposed to be 40 years in the future the graffiti everywhere. The buses had graffiti. There were signs hanging from houses and businesses. On the fence at Burbank High, if the event is over, take the sign down. It just, our visual landscape is getting cluttered up with old sign. Mm-hmm. And I will say where the signs are a dirt field at Burbank High. But I see it all over town, especially the school district. You go by Burroughs. There's a sign on the outside of the football field of an event that took place last year. Take your sign down after your event. My pet peeve of the week, it's something we're going to start. And next week I'm going to bring out a couple tonight. If you're curious about my pet peeves, I have a list of them. But you know what, Ashley?
I do have one.
You got off the freeway today. And what was your pet peeve?
Well, I have a couple, but...
You only get one tonight, though.
Good way to close out the show.
Well, actually, I would rather save that one, but I would like to use my pet peeve for Maple Park, because that has been bugging me for a while. Maple Park is located adjacent to Luther Middle School, and it is a park dedicated to 2 to 5-year-olds. And what makes it a great park is that there's an actual a gate with a door that latches, so your 2-year-old doesn't run out into the street. But for some reason, this past year, whoever opens the gate locks it to the fence, so it cannot close. So it's not really a safe space anymore. So I would love it if they would just take the lock off, not lock it to the fence. Thanks.
That's a perfect. Ashley won't be with us every week. We would love to have her in the studio. I know our audio engineer, Craig Durling, he's recuperating from some surgery today, and we hope he's back. And we're going to ask him his pet peeve, because I do know he has a couple around town. But it's a good way to end our show.
I like it.
We have pet peeves, and you know what? We're lifers here.
It's more of a call to action than a pet peeve. It's just like, hey, here's something that you could do for us.
Well, I want to promo Ashley's podcast, which she did tonight.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of other great podcasts up online. I got to give a little shout out for some advertising. You want to know what makes this all work? Advertising. You could advertise on a podcast. You can advertise on myBurbank. If you didn't, on Mondays, Ashley is our editor of our weekly recap. If you don't look at myBurbank on a daily basis,
that newsletter is amazing.
She puts in stories there that it'll come to your email.
Every story that went out that week will be in that email.
So there's a lot going on here at myBurbank Talks. Like Craig said, we'll be at the Historical Society.
Historical Society, that's right.
Their big party this Saturday. Ashley,
yeah,
it was great having you in the studio.
Thank you. It was fun.
Kind of different. And
I'll bring a sweater next time.
Well, I still got to pay the air conditioning bill, so maybe we'll just turn that off. Okay, I think that's it for another episode. We appreciate it. We went a little long this week, but, good information. If you want to know about Burbank, what's going on, this is where you find out.
Honestly, you just said it, Craig. We had people gave me some calendar dates. Holiday in the Park, the Magnolia Park thing out. Use our calendar, folks. That's where I got these things from. It's free. myBurbank provides a calendar. You can put stuff on. It'll get tweeted out to 47,000 Twitter followers, But where else can you find out some of this stuff around the city? myBurbank Talk.
We're on Threads right now, but don't look for much. Okay, that's it for another week. We will talk to you all later. Thank you much for watching and listening, and take care.
myBurbank Talks would like to thank all of myBurbank's advertisers for their continued support. Burbank Water and Power, Cusimano Real Estate Group, Providence St. Joseph Medical Center, Burbank Chamber of Commerce, UME Credit Union, Tequila's Cantina and Grill, UCLA Health, Gain Credit Union, Community Chevrolet, Media City Credit Union, Eric Garcia of Farmers Insurance, Providence High School, UPS Store on 3rd Street, and Hill Street Cafe.